We're living in a world that would have been pure science fiction just a few decades back. We're all plugged into this massive global network all the time. But what does all this connection actually do to us? That's what we're going to dig into. What's wild is that over a century ago, the poet Walt Whitman had this incredible vision of a world welded together by a network. It was this beautiful utopian dream that honestly perfectly captures the early promise of the internet, this amazing tool that was going to unite all of humanity. And for a while there, it really felt like that promise was coming true. I mean, think about it. Suddenly, politicians could raise $500 million online from regular people. Musicians could skip the record labels and talk right to their fans. Citizens used text messages to organize protests and literally change their governments. You could trace your family tree back hundreds of years or loan a few bucks to an entrepreneur on the other side of the world. It felt like a genuine revolution. But you know how it goes. Every silver lining has a cloud. The very same channels that brought us all together also threw the doors wide open for exploitation. And the first big sign that this perfect vision had a crack in it was something we all know and we all hate: spam. And that right there, that's the core of what we're talking about. These networks are a total double-edged sword. For every amazing thing they let us do, there's a pretty serious downside lurking right behind it. That's the real tension of our connected lives. So just how bad did this whole spam thing get? Well, get ready for this number. By 2009, a staggering 90% of all email being sent across the globe was junk. Let that sink in. 9 out of every 10 emails was complete and utter spam. And look at how fast this happened. It was just insane. Back in 2000, spam was only about 8% of email. Annoying, yeah, for sure, but you could deal with it. But less than a decade later, it had completely taken over, drowning out almost all real human communication. So why did this happen? Well, it all comes down to simple economics, really. To send out 1 million flyers by regular mail would cost a fortune, but to send 1 million emails, it costs basically nothing. It is so ridiculously cheap that a spammer can make a profit even if only one person in 100,000 actually buys something. Okay, so spam is one thing, right? It's annoying. But the stakes get a whole lot higher. The internet's incredible power to spread ideas has kicked off this huge worldwide clash between two massive forces: the ideal of total freedom of expression and the desire of governments to keep things under control. And trying to censor the internet, well, it's like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall. You can't just shut it down like a single TV station. It's not one thing in one place. It's global. It's always changing. And there are millions of us creating content all the time. It's just too big for any one group to completely control. Look, this whole fight over free speech, it's not new. Philosophers have been duking it out for centuries. You had Immanuel Kant, who basically said, have the courage to use your own reason. Don't let so-called guardians tell you what to think. Then there was John Stuart Mill, who argued that even opinions we think are totally wrong are valuable, because debating them helps us get closer to the truth. But Mill also drew a line in the sand. He gave us something called the principle of harm, and it's a really powerful idea. He said the only time it's okay for society to step in and restrict someone's freedom is to prevent them from directly hurting someone else. That's it. Simple, but it's a concept that still shapes our laws today. And this whole tangled mess got way, way more personal with the rise of what we call Web 2.0. Because all of a sudden, we weren't just reading stuff online, we were all creating it. And we found ourselves walking through a brand new social minefield where nobody really knew the rules. So what is Web 2.0 anyway? Think of it like this. The early internet was kind of like a library. You went there to get information. Web 2.0 turned it into a giant party where everyone could bring something. We started uploading our own photos, writing our own blogs, and building communities on social networks. Everybody got a megaphone. But with all this new power comes some really tricky new questions, right? Like, if you share something personal about someone else online, where's the line? When does sharing your life story become betraying someone else's trust? Let's take a look at a case study. A student posts a really embarrassing photo of her friend online just to get more traffic to her blog. Was that okay? Well, if you look at it through a few different ethical lenses, the answer is a pretty clear no. A Kantian would say she used her friend as a tool to get more readers. Social contract theory says she broke an unwritten rule about privacy. It just goes to show how complicated our new social rules really are. And sometimes, the fallout from this online world isn't just about hurt feelings.
it can be absolutely tragic. This horrible sentence. This was one of the last messages a 13-year-old girl named Megan Meyer ever read before she took her own life.
What we're talking about here is cyberbullying, using our connected world to deliberately cause psychological pain. And it's a massive problem. A survey from 2009 found that almost 1 in 5 teenagers had been a victim. The shield of anonymity the internet provides can make people so much crueler than they would ever be face to face. So, that brings us to the final piece of this puzzle, and maybe the most personal one. We've talked about society, but what about just us? What is the personal cost of being always on, always connected? What is it doing to us as individuals?
I mean, the amount of time some of us spend plugged in is just mind-boggling. There are studies showing people online for 40, even 80 hours a week. Some people stay logged in for nearly a full day straight. It's led to a real debate among psychologists about something called internet addiction, this compulsive need to be online that can wreck your health, your job, and your relationships.
And in the most extreme, heartbreaking cases, the consequences can be fatal. In South Korea, there are these internet cafes called PC bangs, and there have been documented cases of gamers playing for so long, we're talking 50 hours straight, that their bodies just give out and they died from sheer exhaustion. It's the ultimate tragic price for being unable to log off. And so, that leaves us with the big question, the one that really sits at the center of all this. Our networks have given us the world, unbelievable